Also, in coming to a Rotary Club in Gainesville, Georgia, if you walked out of town and didn't talk about water in Lake Lanier, you'd be a fool. I have watched Nathan's career in Congress with just dealing with the water issues, and have always depended on his insight into how important the recreational purpose of Lake Lanier is and how critical Lake Lanier is to the economy of Hall County and Gainesville, and to really the economy of all of metropolitan Atlanta. We're under a 3-year deadline, 1 year of which has already passed, from Judge Magnuson, who came down with a very specific ruling that first of all said water supply was not an authorized use in the congressional legislation that created Lanier. Of course, what that ruling also uncovered were there 45 other impoundments in the United States where water supply was not a use designated in them, and there's 17 states in the territory of Puerto Rico that today derive water from an impoundment that was not authorized in the federal legislation that created it. So Congress has a significant role to play in making sure that we don't let that continue to happen. Secondly, and most importantly, it is time for our governors to come together and to reach a tri-state compact, because the ultimate solution, as Judge Magnuson said, is not strictly the congressional legislation. It's all those states reaching a compact. Western states have done it. We now have Mr. Barnes here, who's so instrumental in the 7-state Western Compact between California, Idaho, Colorado, and Utah. I'm sure we can find a way here, but we must do it. And there is, I think, a solution to it. And the solution is we're going to have to decide two things. One, what is the minimum flow as water crosses the state of Georgia and Alabama, in both the ACF and the ACT. Because under riparian rights, you cannot take advantage of the water that's in on your property to the detriment of property owners downstream. There's a principle of riparian rights that I think overall, ultimately, if this went to the Supreme Court, would govern. So we need to decide what those minimum flows are, number one. Number two, we need to prioritize the use of water in a federal impoundment during a time of a Category 4 drought. The difficulties that we went through at Lake Lanier in the last 5 years, is that we were in a Category 4 drought. Lake Lanier was being drained at a rapid rate. I think at one point it got to 19 or 20 feet down, which is awful, both aesthetically as well as for values as well as the marketplace. But as long as you let the Endangered Species Act be the principle upon which you regulate a dam, that could happen anywhere in the United States or in any of those 45 impoundments. And so Congress, I think, critically must amend endangered species to prioritize it in times of threat of health, safety, and welfare to the people of any state. To me, if you get into a Category 4 drought, there are 3 priorities in this watershed: water supply, electricity, and recreation. Ancillary issues like endangered species must take a second footing to the management of the water in the watershed, so we can continue to keep a guaranteed flow that is sufficient for water supply, but also doesn't rob either the state of Florida or the state of Alabama. And I think that's the solution, and I will continue to work as hard as I can to be a catalyst for those negotiations and ultimately for exactly that happening. Because until we do it, and do it right, we're going to continue to have problems. It's interesting that these negotiations broke down 20 years ago. We've been operating under court orders for 20 years. Basically, whichever sturgeon or mussel happened to prevail in the last lawsuit. And I love sturgeons and I love mussels, but I love the stability of Lake Lanier waterline and the predictability of the flow of water for health, safety, and welfare, and the peaking energy that Lake Lanier supplies in terms of electricity. So as long as I'm in the Senate, I'm going to fight for that, do everything I can to see to it happens, and do everything I can to see to it Lake Lanier looks every day